Next, I have the pleasure to introduce Dr. Leica Claydon. She's a senior lecturer and course leader for the MSc Physiotherapy at Anglia, Ruskin University. She's also the course tutor for the BSc Physiotherapy, partner university being MHSA in Malaysia. She's graduated with a PhD in 2008 from Keele University and has spent 6 years working at the University of Otago in New Zealand, where she was Associate Dean Postgraduate Research Studies at the School of Physiotherapy. She publishes in the fields of pain management, neurological rehabilitation and education. She is a peer reviewer for the Journal of Pain, Rheumatology, Clinical Journal of Pain, Physiotherapy Theory and Practice, Physical Therapy Reviews, and the New Zealand Journal of Physiotherapy. Research interests are systematic reviews, non-pharmacological management of pain, neuropathic pain, neurological rehabilitation and education. She is actually presenting a jointly authored paper by Sylvester, Dengzee and herself, and it's on overweight, stroke, obesity and physiotherapy, not just WHO's problem, right?
Thank you very much to Madam and the scientific community for inviting me to present at the international conference. It's been an honour and very well presented and very well organised, so thank you very much. When I was reflecting on the title of the conference, Expanding Developmental Horizons through either education, research and innovation, this led me to think about what the important things are, both in physiotherapy research and also in teaching. And there's definitely been a shift from when I graduated in 2003 to now what we're teaching on the curricula in physiotherapy. So I'd like you just to think about what 3 things an individual can do to lead a healthy life. And perhaps on that list would be those things. So you have to eat well, be active or exercise, and sleep. And what I'd like to focus on is the second one in that list. So why the shift in focus? So as I alluded to, we've shifted massively in physiotherapy to the promotion of physical activity. So to give you some concrete examples, for the management of stroke, as soon as a patient's cardiovascular signs are stable, we will get a patient up and out of bed as soon as possible, usually within 24-48 hours if at all possible. If you have a look at the rehabilitation of myocardial infarction, if you have a look at the rehabilitation of total hip replacements, total knee replacements, where the average length of stay is 2 days, the major emphasis is early and promotion of physical activity. So if we think about the definitions of activities, in any bodily movement that is produced by muscles that requires energy expenditure. So in rehabilitation, which is the main aim of physiotherapy, we aim to restore function, which is another word for activity, at least to pre-injury level, if not superseding pre-injury level. And as I alluded to, this is across all of the physiotherapy disciplines. I'm very much aware that I'm here in Sri Lanka, and if any of you are wondering what Englanders do every day on a daily basis, you're just about to find out. So this is based on a report from the Office for National Statistics, published in 2014, and this is what English people say that they do every day. So this is work, outside work, and bedtime. So they stand, they sit, they might walk a little bit, gardening not very often, looking at the screen of a computer or a laptop, and then sleeping. So a report that also came out on the news just last week was that in the UK, adults can expect to spend between 6 to 8 hours every day looking at a screen, whether that's a TV, a computer or a laptop. So on average, we spend 5 to 6 hours a day standing or sitting, only half an hour to 1 hour walking around at work, and only a third to 50% of us actually do any stairs or ladders or heavy lifting. And then outside of work, only a third to 50% of us report sedentary behaviour. So there's the myth expelled. So we say that we meet the physical activity guidelines. So the physical activity guidelines are for at least 30 minutes of moderate activity where you get out of breath, but you can still speak 5 days a week. So that's 150 minutes a week. So 2/3 of men and about half of women say that they meet these guidelines for physical activity. So what researchers did in the UK is they actually give people accelerometers, which are devices that you can place on the hip, and it records actual activity that people participate in. And what people actually do every day is very different to what they say they do every day. So if you're thinking about those physical activity guidelines, only 1 in 10 people meet the physical activity guidelines. So that's 6% of men and 4% of women who get 30 minutes of physical activity every day. So what? Who cares? Why is that important? So the WHO, or WHO, which is the World Health Organization, have identified that physical inactivity is the 4th leading modifiable risk factor for death worldwide. It's also an independent risk factor for lots of non-communicable diseases, of which in Sri Lanka, non-communicable diseases are responsible for 75% of all preventable deaths. And obesity is one of the risk factors among your population. So non-communicable diseases include cardiovascular disease, cancer, diabetes, and also obesity. So these are very, very common diseases that we deal with on a daily basis. So this is a graph published from the World Health Organization, and this is indicating the prevalence of obesity. So if we have a look at the top, Japan is faring the best, with only 3.5% of the population who are obese. So they define obesity in terms of a weight for height ratio, which is your body mass index, with a score of 30 or more being a score for obesity. So the Japanese score very, very well, but unfortunately the United States or the US, at least a third of the population are currently obese. So how did this come to be? Well, the best way to answer that question is to follow a very large group of people over time and see what they get up to. So recently, a National Institute for Health project, which was conducted in the United States, did just that. So they followed over 120,000 people, both men and women, who were not obese at baseline, and they took measurements for 4 years, well, at least 4 years, in 2 different cohorts. So as you can see from the diagram at the bottom, obesity, to be defined as obese, the patient may not have to be as large as you might think they are. So to be overweight is the 3rd person in the middle there, and to be obese is the 4th person.